Hello and welcome to the Melvin podcast. We are a strange and mysterious podcast where we talk about both the strange and mysterious. I usually cover the strange, she usually covers the mysterious, but we definitely will overlap quite a bit because there are so many things that if it's unexplained, it's probably kind of weird. And if it's strange, there's things that we probably don't understand at all about it. So it's a fun little cross-referential thing. So I am Nicole, and this is Tori.
Hello.
And Tori is going to tell us something unexplained today. I have no idea what she's talking about.
It is a mystery. I'm actually going to tell you the reverse of how I've been reading it constantly.
Okay.
So I have two murders. So we'll just start. It's Houston, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it happened in the 2000s. There is a woman named Mary McGinnis Morris. She is a nurse. She's 39 years of age. People said that she was really kind-hearted. She loved to work. She would, instead of the 12-hour shifts, she would do like 14-hour shifts. No, thank you.
I'm an underachiever with that. I'm like, there's my time. Goodbye.
Yep, pretty much. No, I'm good. I mean, I guess you get paid overtime anyway.
Yeah.
You do it. But anywho, so she was really into her job. She was married. Her husband's name is Mike Morris, and they had an 11-year-old daughter at this time.
Okay.
So she was found dead on the side of the road.
Oof.
On October 16th.
Oof.
Seemed to be, they tried to make it look like a suicide, but the passenger door was wide open and the keys were flung out.
Okay, yeah, definitely not a suicide then.
Yeah, no.
That or someone found her and just left her there, which in that case, still someone else is involved with that, you know?
Yeah, so a couple days before she got murdered, so she has her friend, Lori, and they're apparently the best friends. She talked to her about how this one coworker had made her feel, like, creepy.
I feel like that's becoming more and more, like, common these days. This weird coworker I got.
A couple days before her murder, her office was completely disarrayed, files, like, flown out, and her pictures, like, turned over, and written on it was death to her, which is assumed they meant Mary.
Yeah.
So it's safe to assume, and she was pretty sure that it was this one coworker. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I've heard it pronounced Dwayne, but that's not how it's spelled. It's like Duane.
Oh. I can see how that would be, like, how it would be pronounced that way, but I've never heard of it spelled that way.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. So we're just gonna call him Dwayne for now. I'm sorry if I butchered your name.
His name is Duana. I'm just kidding.
Dwayne.
Duana.
But he had also filed like a complaint about her beforehand and how she wasn't taking care of things properly. And he claims that they had a really good friendship and that they were still friends even after he filed against her.
I beg to differ on that. I would be pretty salty if someone wrote me up. And I know that because I've had that happen with coworkers before. And they're like, well, you just aren't doing this right. And I'm like, no, I am. And you can come talk to me about it like an adult.
Right? I'm like, if you're truly friends, like, when did you discuss it with one another first before turning them in? Like, just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, that's... just saying, but because of how she was like creeped out, her husband, he had a handgun, and she asked, hey, can you teach me how to use it, and can I have one? Because she was that much afraid for it. I mean, when her office is so in disarray and it says death to her, I understand.
Yeah, my first thought would have been like, I should get a gun. Like, so just for self-defense.
And she left it in like the driver's seat, underneath her driver's seat. And that's where it's like the apparent suicide was, because it was the gun that her husband had given her to protect herself.
Yeah, that would also raise a red flag for me, though, because if you were planning on committing suicide, I would feel like you wouldn't want to tell anybody, like, what your plan would be, so you wouldn't want to give anything away.
Yeah, but
You know?
the thing of why they're really confident that it's not suicide is because on the day of her murder, she was with Lori, her friend. She was giving her an allergy shot, like a flu shot. And a couple hours later, she called her saying, there's this guy, really, he's following me, he's giving me the creeps. Didn't say his name, so don't know if she recognized him or not. And on that call, she said, I'm just going to go to my office, check out, and leave. I'm going to go home, because she just felt that much unsafe, which is unlike her considering she had 14-hour shifts, right?
Right. So, yeah, it's definitely...
So she did do that, but on the way to her car, so they said it was about a 9-minute difference between Lori's call and the 911 call that she put in, and they will not release that call because anyone that has listened to it, they say, is chilling. So it's her last moments, that call, and she kept on saying they, and that's all that they would give. But I'm pretty sure there was a lot of, like, screaming, probably heard the crime itself happening.
No.
So, yeah. And they're pretty confident it's not suicide.
Yeah, that...
And then what makes this
uncomfortable.
A little bit more strange is that her husband, on the call logs for the company, they have it down to where he calls like half an hour later after the crime, and it's a 4 minutes of the conversation. The company, the phone company, he says it was a mistake. Like, he didn't call, or there's some that say that he did call and he just let the phone ring for 4 minutes. But the phone company says that it would not show up on their records unless it was answered.
Yeah, don't they also, I don't know if they used to, because I'm a young'un, but don't they have, like, limits on how many times it can ring? I've never heard of it ringing for 4 minutes straight.
It's not highly impossible. I've known that, like, my phone sometimes glitches and will ring really long. Never 4 minutes. First off, I wouldn't be on the phone holding there for 4 minutes of this ringing.
You have to remember, 4 minutes is, like, the average time for, like, a song.
Yeah, that's long.
That's a long time. So you're jamming out to an entire song in your car with a phone ringing.
Yeah, it's
unheard of, in my opinion.
It's unlikely. So that all happened. There are several people that have motives to kill her. Like, you have this Dwayne dude guy, and then you have her husband, because there was rumors that she was having an affair. And then also her life insurance was $700,000. So she had some good.
Yeah, that is a motive. I was gonna say, like, I wouldn't think it was the husband, but I mean, life insurance that high, and unfortunately that's the motive for quite a few, like, spousal murders, which is really sad.
It is really sad. And during the time of her murder, her husband said to the police that he wasn't going to attend without an attorney, which I get it. Like, I don't want to be penned for a murder, and husband is number one suspect.
Right. I mean, honestly, some of the questions that they ask, they can take the way that you word something and say, well, you meant it this way, and in your mind you're like, I literally had no idea you can even interpret it that way.
Which is also the reason of, like, they asked him to do a polygraph test, and he said no. I would too.
Yeah, I don't believe in the accuracy of polygraph tests, because I have anxiety, so my heart rate already, like, I could just be, like, washing my hands, and then my brain's like, don't forget to do your homework, and I'm like, and I'm stressing out, and I'm not thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm lying about washing my hands, I'm just...
Yeah, well, from my understanding, it's like a 56% accuracy or something. It's less than 70%.
There's a reason why they use it on, like, those reality shows like Maury and stuff all the time, because they don't care about the accuracy of it. They just know it's going to create drama. So whether it's the truth or a lie, it's going to create some buzz. Right.
And it's like, at that point, it's just for funsies. But here is, like, somebody, you're trying to commit somebody to doing something bad. Like, I don't agree with it.
Yikes.
But, so
smart on the husband, I will say, because I wouldn't agree to that either.
I wouldn't either, and I probably want to go to the police without an attorney as well. I just, because when it comes to that, and the fact that this happened around, like, Sugar Land, Houston area, 25 miles away, 3 days before, another woman had been murdered, and her name was Mary Morris.
That's weird.
So, this one, this one's, like, really weird to me. So, Mary Lou Morris, so you have Mary McGinnis Morris, which is the nurse, and then Mary Lou Morris, she's a loan officer that worked at a Chase Bank in Houston. She lives in Baytown, Texas, so that's, like, Sugar Land and Baytown, I would say is, like, equivalent to, like, Denton and Rockwall.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
See, I'm really bad at geography, so she has to explain things to where I understand them.
They're about, like, a 45-hour difference from each other.
Okay, that makes sense. That's in Texas terms, I know some of y'all northern people are gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, it's such a long drive." That's an average drive in Texas. Yeah. Like, if it's under an hour, you're like, "We can go there."
Yeah, absolutely. We're like, that's close. But everywhere else is like, that's not close at all. I'm like, what do you mean? We drive an hour everywhere. So, yeah, so relatively, this is close to each other. Both of them are called Mary Morris. So Mary Lou Morris, she's 48 years of age. So they're both, like, relatively in their 40s. They both had dark brown hair, and they're both Caucasian.
Okay.
In the Houston area. But she was found dead the afternoon of October 12th, 2000. And her car was going the opposite way to Houston. 3 miles from her house, burned out. And her in the passenger seat of the car. Her running wing gone. So, theories, there's, like, no supposed, like, suspects or murders for Mary Lou Morris. No one knows why she was killed. She doesn't have any enemies. She was very reliable at her job. In fact, that's what got them to think that this person in the car was Mary Morris, because they couldn't find out her identity at all without the dental records.
Oh my god.
Like, the scene was so bad and she was so burned.
Well, car fires are terrifying.
Yeah, so and the things missing was her purse, so they had no way of even finding identification. And even if that purse was in there, the odds of that surviving is probably slim, but there would still be, like, evidence that it was there. And her wedding ring was missing.
That's awful.
But there's no, like, everyone seemed to love her. She was reliable at her job. And in fact, when she didn't show up that day, they called her husband. And he got worried because she saw her leave at 6 a.m. that morning to go to work. And since they didn't have her at work that afternoon, he called in for a missing person.
Yeah, I don't imagine people at banks get really salty about certain things unless you, like, mess up a transaction, which they have too many cross-referencing to mess that up. It's like, darn old Mary, she gave this dude $20 extra at the bank. So yeah, I don't think she would have really enemies there. At least the people that I've known that have worked as, like, tellers or anything at banks, like.
It seems pretty chill, at least for mine. I'm sure. I mean, you gotta take that seriously because you can't be giving everybody $20 at the bank.
Right.
But, like, everyone says that they liked her. Everyone says she was very reliable. She was apparently a really good gardener.
Aww.
I'm like...
That's sad.
And her husband, I'm not sure if it's her second husband or if it's just her first marriage, but she had a child previously.
Oh, I see.
There's not a lot of, like, info. I tried to find the actual police report, but I couldn't. I'm not that sleuthy yet. One day.
One day.
But the reason these two are connected, not only by their name, but the fact is that her wedding ring was missing, and usually that's the sign for a hitman. So the theory is that Mike Morris has hired a hitman for his wife, Mary Morris, and didn't give a lot of details. And so the hitman mistaken Mary Lou Morris as the person and did the hit on her.
That would be horrible.
And there are some that say that, but it's not. They're saying that in the newspaper, somebody like the Houston Chronicles or it was the Houston Police Department got a call saying basically got the wrong Mary is what was told, but there's no evidence of it. And the one person that said that they went to the Houston Chronicle to confirm this was Mary McGinnis's friend, Lori. And she said that's what they said, but yet there's no record.
Could be an example of like the blame game, you know, trying to, oh, well, this had to have happened.
Yeah.
As like a coping mechanism, maybe, because the people will, in their heads, come up with some crazy things to make themselves feel better.
Yeah, you'll make up memories, even. So, it's so bizarre.
It is.
But that's one theory. The other theory is that it was complete coincidence. Like, these are two separate murders, and maybe somebody had heard of Mary Lou's murder and took that at the time to murder Mary McGinnis to throw people off their track.
I mean, that probably would do something, you know? I mean, people are talking about it right now, so...
Yeah, like Mary Morris, it's like they could think of something else. Like, take me off of the scent kind of deal. So it's really confusing. It's still unsolved. It's still a mystery. Is it killed by one hitman that just completely did the wrong job? Or is it two completely different people? In which I think it's two completely different people. Because even though they were both murdered in their car, and they were both found on like the side of the road, one was on fire.
Yeah.
And the other one was just shot in the head to make it look like suicide.
Yeah, and like even if my thought process is if it was like a hitman trying to like, oh, I messed up on this one, so I'm gonna get the other one, wouldn't you like try to also hide in a way who you killed? So you would basically like if you caught it on fire the first time, wouldn't you do it the second time? Because obviously they had issues like identifying who it was. Unless they didn't want to link it. But I don't know. I feel like it's two different people as well. Although the hitman story, that is an interesting theory, whoever came up with it.
Right. I'm pretty sure it was like a dark humor moment where it's just like, oh, hey, hitman calls up the person's like,
oh my
I did the
gosh.
job. And he'll like looking over to your wife on the side. It's like, are you sure? Like, that's awful.
They're just like, what if this happened? And the wife just does the slow turn. Like, you need to watch what you're saying and be sensitive.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I'm talking about.
It's so bad. It's so dark humor. I think it's two separate murders, though. I don't think it was a hit.
I do, too. I think it's just really, really bizarre coincidences, but I find those, like, so fascinating.
And well, also, first off, I'm like, the husband gives Mary McGinnis, right? Husband gives her a gun. Why would it make sense for him to give the gun to her when he hires a hitman? Like,
right. And then also, if he was planning on the one murdering her, why would he give her a gun to where she could defend herself against him?
Yeah. Why would you?
So the husband had no idea, at least with Mary McGinnis. Is that what her name is? McGinnis. Yeah. That poor dude.
I know.
Because
I really don't think he did it.
I don't think so either. Watch, we're gonna get an update on it one day, and it's gonna be like, "You're wrong." I'm just kidding, but
I mean, that's fine as long as someone gets caught, I guess. As long as there's evidence for it.
justice.
I like to think everyone is innocent until they are proven guilty. Although sometimes there'll be moments of like, yeah, you totally did it. Like
Casey Anthony.
who?
Casey Anthony.
Why is it that I don't remember that?
She's the one that had the missing 2-year-old that she was out partying and didn't notice it was missing.
Yeah.
That's a really sad story, but she totally did it.
About that one. Oh,
They even-
gosh. I
they
blocked
even-
it from my mind.
Yeah, they even made a documentary. I'm like, why? No one wants to know. No one needs to know your opinions because everyone knows you did it.
It's kind of... It's really sad.
It is.
It's just dumb. So dumb. People are so...
They are so dumb.
But yeah, no, that's interesting. I'm just wondering who killed... If it is 2 separate murders, who killed Mary Lou? Oh, I almost forgot. So a couple weeks later, Mary Lou, her card for her phone, like, when you used to be able to like easily take the SIM card out and put it in a different phone.
Oh yeah, before they like are glued in, and you have to like have a mini screwdriver and yeah.
Yeah, so her phone was used in Galveston, Texas, which is kind of like a triangle almost. Mm-hmm. So another like 30, 40 minutes away. And was used by a teenager who said they found the purse in a parking lot, and that's where the phone card was and why she used it. And then she gave the phone to her, or gave the purse to her friend. But they say that they got the purse back, gave it back to her family, and they said this isn't her purse. Like, she's never had this kind of purse.
Oh, so it could even be a woman that did it and shoved it in her purse and then left her purse in a parking.
But why would she?
That makes more questions.
Right? It's like, so who killed her? And plus, she's found in the passenger seat 3 miles from her home. It makes me think that somebody she knew came into the car to drive her somewhere and then just lights it on fire.
See, the only thing I can think of is that friend that they said might have come up with like a story.
But that's for Mary McGinnis.
Oh.
Not for Mary Lou.
Well, then I have no idea. That's really weird. It
so doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. There's so many things where I'm like, why would you? Because, like, in theory, if it were, like, another lady, she would stick it in her purse, and then she wouldn't leave her purse in a parking lot unless she had, like, a spare purse. But even then, that's a really dumb thing to do, is to leave something in a parking lot where someone can find it. That's weird.
Unless she wanted it to be found, which I don't understand why she would want it to be found.
Maybe someone was like, I want to do dumb things to make more questions.
Right. It's also possible that the teenager lied about where she found it.
Yeah, teenagers
can
do
so
things.
I don't know, maybe she found it in a trash can or even grabbed it or even was handed it by somebody.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to bail out your friends or something if one of them, like, pickpocketed or something.
Yeah. I don't know.
So many theories with this. That's so weird. That
so
adds
bizarre.
another level of weird to
Like,
it.
Mary McGinnis, there's motives there, there's suspects there, and a part of me is thinking, like, okay, it's got to be one of those people that are so close to her that just wanted her out of the picture and heard about Mary Lou's death and just thought this is the perfect time. And then with her being so skeptical and superstitious of, like, everybody and paranoid, and then have a gun, they try to make it look like a suicide. Clearly failed.
Yeah,
And so, like, that's, like, their backup plan almost. So it's, like, there's, like, some, like, theories that make sense and you can grasp it. But with Mary Lou's death, there's no one. They say that Jay Morris was a good husband to her, like, that they didn't really have any problems. Of course, every marriage has problems, but...
Yeah.
Like, they were relatively, that they were happy, and he was a good stepfather from what I've heard, so for her daughter, who was a full-grown adult at that time. So, I'm like, well, who did it? Who could have possibly done it?
That's every time I come up with like an idea of someone, then I think about another fact and I'm like, no, that wouldn't. Why would they do that then? Because that would just incriminate themselves.
Yeah, so Mary Lou is baffling. And she has the least amount of things, like, whenever I'm reading about this through articles, she has the least amount of attention to it, because there's nothing there. But
right.
But Mary McGinnis, there's several suspects that could have been possible, and you even have, like, that wild story of a hitman. In which, unfortunately, there's no evidence to. Besides the fact that they were both missing their wedding ring, but since she was having problems with Mike at the time, Mary McGinnis, so with her husband, and they were having a tally, it's possible, because her daughter now has her wedding ring, so he said he found it in the house. It's possible that she was having trouble, she was mad at him, and just took off her ring. And being a nurse, a lot of times, like, you don't want that to get damaged. So it's also possible that she just didn't wear it for that reason, too.
Right.
So.
That is definitely very strange.
Yeah. Well, it's like a lot of coincidences and no conclusions.
Every time you have an unexplained story, it's going to be so unsatisfying, but then I'm still going to be like, but wait, you have to have, wait, I need to.
Yeah, no, I like to do the mysteries. I love true crime and knowing, like, why something happened the way it does, but only so I could understand possibly the unsolved cases.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
You want to be the one that's like, I think this happened, and then like 20 years after like technology has improved, you're like, I was right.
Yeah, right.
Slams a book dramatically on the table.
That's right. It's intriguing.
It is.
Like, why would someone do this? Like,
see, I find them fascinating for the psychological aspect because I can't fathom thinking the way that a lot of those people do. I'm like, why would you do this? Like, I understand there's a motivation behind that, but how would you get to that point where you would be like, let's light the car on fire? Like, what?
Right?
No.
Let's burn somebody alive. In which they have no idea what the cause of death was, so they don't know if she was actually burned alive or if something else killed her. Yeah, and they have nothing because she was that badly burned. Yikes. I think there was one article that said they read a police report on it that said that the fire was escalated with manure.
Manure?
Mm-hmm. Oh, which she's a gardener.
Oh.
So even more questions.
Do you know what kind of car she had? Did she have a car with like a trunk? Or because that would be a weird thing to put in the trunk of a car because they usually have carpet on the bottom.
There is something. It's what was it? I think it was a type of it was a regular car. It wasn't like a truck or anything. That much I know. I know it's set out there. I don't remember, and I did not write that down. So.
No, you're good. Because it could just be accelerated by, like, maybe she had fertilizer or something in her car at one point. Because fertilizer's super flammable. There's a lot of stories I've read of, like, fertilizer plants just going, pew.
Which could be the reason why her body was so badly burned at the rate. Because it's all in the same day. So. Yeah.
I really didn't want to report on hers very much, I guess.
I guess not. I guess it's just because there's really not a lot. I'm going to have to find that police report. I'm going to have to, just for my own sake.
Right. It's okay. If you find more information, we can always do...
update.
Yeah, do update episodes on some of the stories that we've already done, which you should totally leave comments if you want us to do that, because we absolutely will. Well, thank you, Tori. This has been a Melvin podcast, Strange and Unexplained Stories. If you liked what we talked about, please review us. If you can review podcasts on whatever platform you might be listening on, or you can like us or subscribe on YouTube, leave comments, make meme jokes, because I would really like that. I'm just saying, I like me some memes. But thank you so much for watching. Please watch more if you found this interesting, and we'll see you next time. Bye!